Debt. Debt, trust, and the functions of money. We all think we know about money, but do we understand the functions of money? What money actually is, what it represents. How and when did the first money appear? Do we think of it was a way to value measure value? Is it a reliable store of value? Who actually creates the money we use? Is it a commodity to be traded? And how does this money actually relate to our status? To have to the real value of things we use in our lives, to the effort we make to get them, to the real economy of human settlements. Once you start thinking about it, these are remarkable, slippery questions which have fooled many throughout millennia, mostly because the answer seems so obvious. Is it not the coin in your pocket, the dollar, the dollar, the dollar bill in its clip, the credit, the credit card in your wallet, a mobile payment notification on your smartphone, a cryptocurrency transaction on the blockchain? Money is all these. Money it is all these, and none of them. For it's primarily a way of ordering our lives. But this this in particular arbitrary way, an attempt to make the often then qualities of our experience fit neatly into quantities that can be counted, compared to standard units of account where, where everything is valued against a sum of money. Money is not really a thing at all, but a social technology. As a Flex March wrote Money, the unauthorized biography, the problem is that money is not really a thing at all, but a social technology, a set of ideas and practices which organize what we produce and consume and the way we live together. When it comes to money itself, rather than the tokens that represent it, the account books where people recorded, or the buildings such as banks in which people administrate. There is nothing physical to look at, but currency is not itself money. Coins and currency, in other words, are useful tokens to record the underlying systems of credit accounts and to implement the underlying process of clearing. Unfortunately, when we think of money, a noun, we automatically think of coins, valuable metals, not of an institution by which a process of trust is administered, a verb. We should not think of what money is, but of what money does. For the crucial fact about its nature is that money is technology, or procedure devised to manage trust, trust that the creditor will be repaid. One could say it's the operating system on which we run on our economies. For to trust, it's to have a belief in someone, to credit him. And if she is obliged to you, he is in your debt. Hence, credit and debt, a fact clearly asserted by the Knights of Malta. When the 1565 they stamped this motto on their coins, uh, but it's always safe to trust those who issue money. They can be defeated and their governments can disappear. They can cheat and clip the edges of the coins so they can become lighter and worth less. They can withdraw the currency or let it devalue through inflation. Inflation. The fact that they are not always trustworthy. It's one of the reasons why precious metal in the coins was so often assumed to be the actual thing of value, mistaken for the insubstantial process which the idea of money represents. The idea of money is one of the most important inventions of settled peoples. The coins were never the money. They only stand in for the money. They were always tokens, tokens, tokens of trustworthiness that a debt will be repaid, and that tokens are only tokens, however rare and valuable the metal they contain. Despite all the ambiguous attributes in its dependence on confidence and trust, and the ease with which it can be used to cheat, the idea of money is one of the most important inventions of settled peoples, for its for its one of the key technologies that allowed much larger groups to thrive together than was possible before. But like all technologies, it's a sword which can be used to steal as well as pay. The R of Yab, a very old king of very odd, the Y of Yab, a very odd king of money. When Westerns first came upon the remote island of Yap in the 19th century, far from anywhere in the Pacific, they were surprised to find that islanders used a bizarre currency. It consisted of a large circular discus of limestone with a hole in the middle. These discs, called "rye", were between 1 and 12 feet in diameter. They were quarried from an island called Balu, some two some 800 miles, some 280 miles away, and carried from there by outrigger cones to be propped up around the island, part and part owned by one person after another, representing value. Some were even shipwrecked at sea but remained as a part of the currency, for everyone knew their quality, history, position, value, and current offer. These stone discs could in no way be carried about and used as coins, but they were currency, for they were assigned in a payment for specific social exchange, marriage, marriage, inheritances, political deals, even bigs. More mundane items like food and fibers could be exchanged for shell money, or through a customary obligation in which it was obvious who owed how much to whom, and repayment was expected to occur in kind when the time came. If one looks up the array, it's simply called money. In one sense, this is true, but it's always profoundly misleading, for array it's not a currency. which can buy you anything or everything. It's only a marker or a token recording the value of changed relationship which has been entered into by two parties in certain circumstances, a kind of contract. It indicates that existence of a particular social linkage in that particular society. In that particular society. It is one of the means whereby social relations are ordered, whether they are relations involving power, family, connections, transmissions of a status goods or family obligations. In Yap, the monetary system relies on an oral history of ownership. Each transaction is recorded in this history, and no physical movement of the stone is needed. No physical possession as with metal coins. Reciprocity and obligation in non-commercial cultures. Indeed, one of foremost human existence as a hunter in interchange was governed by social reciprocity, obligation to be helpful, fair, and just according to tradition, to be fair to the other members of the family, of the village, of the tribe, to participate in the essential sharing of effort and goods which maintain the community, to behave in accordance with the rules and of rank and status. The kink of sharing which occurs in families where repayment is not expected. There was no universal abstract measure of value, no actual money, for there was no commerce as we know it, no established market in which goods could be traded. It was social obligation and status which held societies together. In these small societies, it was easy and natural to keep track of who was pulling his weight and who was not. Daily transfer of necessities was done by an informal system reciprocity in which a national unit of exchange was never needed. In more complex societies, reciprocity was formalized through the giving of gifts. Serial exchange of gifts established alliances, created obligations, and donated solidarity in certain societies. Giving became an almost aggressive act, as in the competitive distribution or utter destruction of wealth by high status individuals, asserting their hierarchical hierarchical position in the both large ceremonies of the indigenous people of northwest Canada, ceremonies in which the host challenged a guest chieftain to exceed him in his ability or power to give away or to destroy goods, valuable items like blankets or ornamental copper shields worth as same as a slave. British colonizers considered such a practice primitively wasteful and contrary to the civilized values of accumulation, and tried to suppress them, but such profligacy is essential to the maintenance of the very structure of that society, something considered more important than the hoarding of the mere goods of the colonizers' money. To modern Westerns, the customers of the other peoples often look bizarre when compared to our commercial practices. Commercial practices that give us access to status goods like fancy clothes, necessities like bread, or which we pay with money. For instance, the Lil people of Central Africa, in what was Belgian Congo, with whom the British lived in 1950s, they have a sort of currency, a piece of raffia cloth in which a man could weave in about 3 hours. But these clothes were not used as a currency to buy daily goods. Instead, these clothes money was restricted to a particular variety of non-commercial payments, which were required in Lil society, for which clothes money was needed. Their function was to maintain a social relationships within the Lil. Within the Lil, clothes were used as an entrance fees to religious cult groups, fees to ritual healers, for marriage dues, as a word to live life or live on a earth.